Hey guys, today's video we're going to be going over the Battlefield 6 release and my thoughts on the game. I wanted to give it one full week. The game released on October 10th just because there's a lot of gameplay to take in. Initially, there's a lot of bugs, and the fact that the Battlefield 6 devs are already addressing bugs like Bloom, it's kind of impressive, the transparency that we already have one week in. And so my thoughts on the game, it's actually going to be very simple. And you might say this is like a generic take, but at the end of the day, it's just true. Battlefield 6 is worth your money because it's just a game. It's a game that has an identity. It knows what it is. It's a game that we haven't seen in a while. The Battlefield 6 devs have capitalized on a major opportunity that was presented to them in the FPS market, really given to them by Call of Duty. And I would say the game has a soul. It has passion. That is my biggest takeaway from Battlefield 6. It's actually got an identity. The Battlefield 6 devs are, obviously going to update it, so whether it keeps that identity throughout the game's life cycle remains to be seen. But so far, one week in, I can say this game is definitely worth your money. And if you are a Call of Duty fan and you like, small scale, fast paced gameplay, they have CQB mosh pits in Battlefield 6. They have domination, TDM hardpoint. I don't know why people aren't talking about that. It's really fun. And so if you want to get in there, you can play that as well. And when it's the number one top seller on PlayStation, Steam, and Xbox, it's peaking at 650K players. That's like CS2 level popularity. This game really, really capitalized on an opportunity given to them. And, in my last commentary, I said if you go back and listen to all of my other commentaries, I have a really good track record of saying, Call of Duty is doing a good job of killing itself. And now we've reached the point where Call of Duty is officially dead. And I remember commenters on my last commentary saying it's not the Call of Duty player base that, made the change that SBMM was removed. It was strictly Battlefield 6 and the competition brought to them. Did we just forget that Black Ops 6 lost 66% of its player base in the first month? Let's just take a step back for a second, guys. Did we forget the Call of Duty cycle is the player base gets up to 200K players when a new game drops, and then by the end of that game's life cycle, the Call of Duty player base is like 50K concurrent players? That is the COD cycle. And if we want to give the Battlefield 6 devs their flowers for creating a great game, we have to give the Call of Duty player base their flowers for actually leaving permanently and deciding to play Battlefield 6 and not buy Black Ops 7. Because we have to understand these are two games that have dedicated player bases. They don't play one or the other, and yes, there are players that play both. And so when you compare the numbers, there's never been this big of a swing from one to the other. And for the longest time, we've always said the Call of Duty killer was going to be Call of Duty itself. And that's just true because Black Ops 6 started bleeding players long before Battlefield 6 was even revealed. Anybody on the internet knows that Battlefield 6 gameplay was leaking a year or two prior before it was announced. Battlefield Labs gameplay was on YouTube before it was revealed, and the reason why it didn't hit the algorithm is obviously because of the embargo. And so, long before the competition reached the FPS market, Call of Duty was bleeding players for good. We didn't know if they were going to actually remove SBMM because of how bad Black Ops 6 got. And with how Black Ops 7 sales turned out for them, and then when Battlefield 6 basically stole their player base, because we have to remember, they've never ever seen their player base permanently leave. They've always seen the COD cycle. That's what makes Activision money. When they see that they spend $600 million on Black Ops 6, and then in 1 month they lose 66% of their players, that was the first domino into actually forcing their hand into making a switch, because we have to realize that Call of Duty was able to keep SBMM in the game while there was a lot of competition releasing, whether it be an FPS game or whether it be a single player game. And so there was a lot of moving parts for SBMM to be taken out of the game. And now that the Call of Duty player base has lost its trust with Activision and actually made the switch, we have a new top FPS game in the market. If we're going to give Battlefield 6 its flowers for being a good game, we got to actually give Call of Duty players their flowers for actually making the switch, because that usually never happens. And I'm very excited to see how much more this game can perform over time. It's really impressive what it's done in the first week. And, the weapon pool, the weapon category, it's just great. It's fantastic. You have AKs, M4s, SCARs, you have DMRs. It's a great weapon pool, and Conquest and Breakthrough, your traditional large-scale Battlefield game modes, they play fantastic. The maps flow great. You can tell how the maps flow easily with the HQs and the spawns. And, sometimes your teams are good, your squads are good, and sometimes they're not so good. And that's the great part about the game. There's no algorithm manipulating my experience. I am getting the full, raw Battlefield chaotic experience. That is what I paid for, and I recommend you guys pay for that as well. This is a great game. How much more it can perform, I don't know. I am nervous to see whether they do add skins into the game. And guys, I know SBMM is gone for now, but hypothetically, if Battlefield 6 loses interest over time, are we really going to give Activision the benefit of the doubt and think they're going to keep SBMM out permanently? Are we forgetting who we're dealing with here? We're literally dealing with Satan himself. Activision is not a good company, and just because they're making a move, there's always a catch. There's always a catch. There's always a reason for this. And so, who's to say SBMM won't return in the future when Activision sees an opportunity to put it back in? It's just the way they operate. I'm just reminding you who we're dealing with here. And so, I just want to leave it at that. Right now, let's enjoy what we have. I'm very excited to keep playing this game up until GTA 6. And when that game comes out, when Battlefield 6 and GTA 6 are alongside each other simultaneously, it's going to be a great day for gaming. And so that's where I stand. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.